I quit.
Part 2 is here. Part 1 of this Grammy drama was focused on Beyoncé being overlooked by the Grammys when it comes to major categories, and the reasons for that, as well as the general treatment other Black artists have received over the years. This is a continuation of that, and we'll be touching on how the Grammys even go about selecting who gets awarded. That process is just as important to know so you can have the full understanding of the situation. How is an artist's work chosen for a Grammy nomination? Step 1. Submissions. The process begins with members and record companies submitting entries during the eligibility year which they consider worthy of recognition in the Grammy Awards process. A member has to be a professional working in music in the United States. Step 2. Screening. These submissions are then screened by over 350 experts to ensure that the recordings meet specific qualifications and have been placed in appropriate fields such as jazz, traditional pop, etc. Matthew Knowles was actually involved with the screening process at one point.
It's a 3-day process. We spent a whole day listening to a minute of a song and saying, that's pop. And then pop will listen and they say, oh, that's R&B. That's a big deal, the genre of the music.
The purpose of screenings is not to make artistic or technical judgments about the recordings, but rather to make sure that each entry is eligible and placed in its proper category. Step 3. Nominating. First round ballots are sent to Grammy voters. Members vote only in their areas of expertise. They may vote in 10 categories across up to 3 genre fields, plus the 6 categories of the general field. Step 4. Final voting. After nominations have been determined and announced, Academy voting members vote in up to 10 categories across up to 3 fields in the genre fields, plus the 4 categories of the general field.
The only way to win is to have the membership of the Academy vote for you. Once you're a member of the Recording Academy, all the music gets submitted, the members listen to it, and they evaluate it on the quality of the art. Not the sales, not the streams, not how many fans, not how many followers, but purely on the opinion. And it's very hard, as you all know, because it's subjective. There's no best song or best record. It's just the opinion of the membership in that particular year. That's how you win a Grammy.
So in 2023, some Grammy voters opened up about their own personal process on how they choose who they vote for. These voters, as Harvey said, are of course supposed to listen to an artist's work. That's a no-brainer. How else will they know what to pick? Well, one Grammy voter in his 70s talked about his process. Let's call them Voter 1. They said, there's a significant percentage of music I've never heard. It's a lot of work to listen to all of it. I guess I'm a bad voter because I didn't do my diligence, but that's my right. I voted for ABBA for Record of the Year. For Album of the Year, they said, again, ABBA with Beyoncé, the fact that every time she does something new, it's a big event and everyone's supposed to quake in their shoes. It's a little too portentous. I hold Harry Styles' origin story against him. He's from a boy band and I never took those acts seriously. So here we have an older voter who doesn't care about newer acts. He's set in his ways and just votes for the oldies that he knows. I'm sure he's not the only one who doesn't listen to people's work before voting. Voter 2 was a Grammy Award-winning producer, engineer, and has been voting for 20 years. They spoke about Record of the Year in 2003. They said, I felt very strongly that Lizzo has changed this culture a lot. About Damn Time was a great track that everyone responded to. I also look at who's been there and go, okay, Adele, Beyoncé, they always win. It's the same people over and over again. So I went for Lizzo. I have no idea who's going to win. I feel a little out of touch with where the Academy is right now. I think Harry Styles As It Was is an amazing, catchy song. For the top categories, I think it has to be about more than just your taste. And the Grammy goes to should mean something other than I just like that track. Voter 3, who is a 30-something-year-old female, also talked about Record of the Year, and she said, I didn't vote for either Adele or Beyoncé in any of the top categories. I love Beyoncé's album and have been a fan of Adele, but I feel that they have already won a lot of Grammys. First of all, someone who feels out of touch with the Academy shouldn't be voting. Secondly, choosing to not vote for someone just because they've won before literally makes no sense. People put out new projects and expect new awards. That's how it should be. You can't say, oh, Beyoncé and Adele won a lot of Grammys, let's give it to someone else. It should be awarded based on if you think their work is the best of the bunch or not. Voter 3 also said they voted for Coldplay for Album of the Year, not because it's their best album, but simply because she just wanted them to win a Grammy. Voter 2 talked about Album of the Year. They said in reference to the Grammy nominees, I think they're very much catering to the pop world. Brandi Carlile's album is maybe the only one that has real musicians. The credit list on the album is not 8,000 people. 3 people made that record, plus the band, and that's it. Again, why is that a factor into who gets the vote? When we listen to music or an album, I don't think the general public goes, I like this song. I wonder how many people wrote it. Why should you care how many people worked on a project? Shouldn't it be if you like the project or not? So this shows that the music itself isn't even factoring into the decision making, which is crazy. Just because an album has 3 writers doesn't mean it's automatically better than an album with 10 writers. Voter 4 is a 20-something-year-old producer who was voting for the first time. He said he picked Harry's House for Album of the Year, and not because he listened to it a lot, but because it was popular on TikTok. I'm sure you see the pattern here. These people aren't qualified to be voting if you ask me. Clearly, it's all subjective, so there will be bias, but it's crazy how they make their decisions. Look at Nicki Minaj. She has 0 Grammys, and that's stemming from issues she had with the people at the Grammys. I feel like personal feelings should never factor into awarding a person for their art, but it is what it is. Jay-Z also spoke about his own boycott of the Grammys because he was nominated for Rap Album of the Year, and yet DMX had 2 #1 albums and didn't get a nomination. He of course talked about Beyoncé having the most Grammys and yet no Album of the Year. People wanted to make it all about Beyoncé, but it's not. She's one of many black artists who don't get treated fairly. He just used her as an example.
The most Grammys, never won Album of the Year. That doesn't work.
32 Grammys with no album or Record of the Year isn't enough if you stop looking at the number and think about the bigger picture, which is that black people have to work twice as hard to get only half the recognition. Taylor has the most Album of the Year wins over anyone. Congrats to her, but when's Beyoncé's time coming? She has impactful, commercially successful albums. She has set trends in many ways. What will it take for her to win Album of the Year? Now, people are saying that she's only doing a country album to try and get Album of the Year. I'm not saying getting that award isn't a goal of hers, but I highly doubt it's her primary goal. Beyoncé doesn't even promote her albums like that anymore, so awards are important, but not her main purpose for creating her art. She has a bigger goal that's already helping other black artists. I'll get into that in my next upload. Comment your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and make sure to check out part 1, which will be linked.